Welcome to episode 145 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the thankful Tithings edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. Going to be not a whole lot going on because there was one main race this past weekend, but we'll discuss some other series we haven't really gotten into this year as much during the meat of the season. And we'll definitely talk football since Josh is in the process of ending my fantasy season as Monday Night Football goes along since he has both of the Niners wide receivers in a rainy Studio Azteca or whatever the hell their stadium is called there in the Mexico game against the Arizona Cardinals. As the Cardinals are driving, of course, because they always seem to do against the 49ers. So this might devolve into me just yelling at the TV watching the 49ers play. So forgive me on this Thanksgiving week for you all that listen to us. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, one half of the one co-host of the Grip Strip podcast. I was introduced yesterday on Grid Talk, and somebody who made his Grid Talk debut yesterday, and we agreed to this while I was at the V. So I decided we need a new opening for Josh. So the same way that Pat McAfee goes and does his whole big intro for AJ Hawk, I figure we need the same for Josh. So he's a computer genius, an iRacing Indy 500 champion, a gentleman, and a scholar. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing great. Yeah. What an introduction. Yeah, I like it. But yeah, the made the Grid Talk debut yesterday, and it was good to be on there. Hopefully, it was a good discussion there. Everybody liked it and everything, and glad to be on and talk about Formula One for a bit, and only Formula One for a bit, and get it done relatively early, but. Yeah, thankful time, of course, this week. We got Thanksgiving and everything this week. Started the big holiday season here in America and everything like that. So, yeah, pretty thankful for everything this year. And, we still have one last race to talk about here for the 2022 Formula One season, with Max Verstappen finally wrapping it up in Abu Dhabi. So, yeah, glad to be on. And, yeah, hopefully my fantasy team comes out and gets the W. It's only going to go one or two ways. I'm either going to win by the law of averages, or I'm just going to be held. They're basically just going to have me in fantasy jail the whole way, and I get 0 points on all my players, or something that doesn't add up to the 15 or so points I need to beat you.
Yeah, you would need the Arizona Cardinals to lock down like they were the team that was in that Super Bowl that year, because it's 15 points for Debo and Ayuk. I mean, and granted, I don't like Jimmy, but oh, here we go. So Mooney Ward's hurt again. Lovely. Because their field is shitty. They've had issues with that field every year they go there, and it's a grass field. It's not like it's a turf. All these stupid turf fields that synthetic turf fields that they're on. Oh man, lovely. Oh, you gotta love it. Paid him all that money, and now he's hurt. Is it a cramp or he pulled his hamstring or something? Doesn't look great. He ain't happy. So we're gonna get into the NyQuil 500 yesterday at Abu Dhabi, which saw Fish Lips win for the 15th time this season. Oh, he landed awkwardly there, trying to stop that. Fish Lips won his 15th race. Charles Leclerc take second in the World Championship. Lewis Hamilton and Fred Alonso fell out of the race with issues. And then, of course, we talked about Sebastian Vettel yesterday. We talked about him last week. Talk about him again at the end of his in his 299th and final start of his Formula One career. We'll also catch up on some other news stories that have come out in prior to the postseason test that they're going to have here tomorrow, because we're doing this on Monday evening. We'll have that for Tuesday morning there, and who will be in it, what we should expect. I mean, it's all with these cars, so it's more about tire testing and getting people acclimated. Some of the new drivers that are going to be in 2023 in their respective teams. We will talk about NFL Week 11 uh, while it's going on, of course, and with fantasy. And we'll also, Jags were off last week, so Josh got to chill out.
Yep, thankfully.
Uh, and then the Niners are playing right now, so I'm going to be anxious about that. Um, Broncos wave leading rusher Melvin Gordon after another fumble. Well, that's what he's been his whole entire career. He fumbles the ball all the time. That's the reason why the Chargers got rid of him. And then Bob Solomon thinking about benching Zach Wilson. No shit, Sherlock. He's so arrogant. He's oh man. He's like Ty Gibbs is what he is, except he's got big dick energy or something, but he can't throw a football for his life or read a defense for that matter. They compared him. What is it? Rich Eisen on his show today made a comparison, or they said that the stats compare similarly through 20 starts. His completion percentage, touchdowns, and like one other thing in yards per attempt compared to Jamarcus Russell. So if you want to be compared to one of the worst busts in the history of the NFL, then that's what Zach Wilson is right now. In the roundup, we'll talk about Formula 2. The guys that are going to have a super license next year, the guys who won, and much, much more. There's news with Formula 2 as well. We'll talk about Extreme E in their last race of this season and get a little bit of World Touring Car action since they're going to be racing in the Saudi Arabian shithole circuit. We will, Josh and I will talk about what we're thankful for in terms of racing this year. A lot of great racing action that took place across the whole year and all the different forms of racing we talk about. Also had some great guests. Of course, we're going to keep on going, talking every week, but, racing season for all intents and purposes is over. There's really next week is V8 Supercars, I think, and that's it. There really isn't anything until, there isn't anything until Dakar. So, the next thing is Dakar, and then the Chili Bowl and some of these other events that Kyle Larson may or may not compete in. Josh's sim segment, and we'll close the deal. So let's start with Formula 1. Verstappen won with ease. Qualified on pole, had it pretty easy in that sense, and then was able to go and dominate the race from the start. I mean, he did get a little bit of resistance from Sergio Perez at the start, but it wasn't enough. Verstappen was able to just kind of maintain. And I mean, to be fair, Perez was in his slipstream and running close to him early in the race. But in turn, that might have been what cost Sergio Perez a chance at second in the race and second in the world championship, because the person he was competing against in Charles Leclerc went with an alternative strategy and undercut and was able to go and make his strat and one pit stop work versus Sergio Perez, who ended up making 2 pit stops in the race, and that was the difference there. Verstappen won by 8.7 seconds. Leclerc ended up being 1.3 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez at the end of the race. That was a podium. Carlos Sainz rounds out your top 4. George Russell gets yet another top 5 to end the season on the heels of his first career win at Brazil. And then Lando Norris Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo in his final race for McLaren, and Sebastian Vettel, as I mentioned, in his last race of his Formula One career. Yuki Tsunoda was the last car on the lead lap just outside of the points. So yeah, I mean, Verstappen wins. I mean, but the real focus was on the Leclerc-Perez battle and how each team handled their particular drivers. Red Bull's handling of Sergio Perez here in the last few races has become a little more questionable. I mean, it's been pretty clear the way they handle him, and they've been doing things with development to kind of hold him back. And honestly, this shouldn't have ever been an issue because of the mistakes Ferrari has made, Josh. They crashed out of races, they've given away races, they've given away points. Perez has done solid. He's had some rough patches, of course, but he's been finishing races. It's not like generally he's been falling out. So it's like if you're not falling out of races and you're in that car, even if we know that they make it for, dick lips, that he should be able to finish in the top five. And if with the points accumulation over 23 races, whatever the hell, that he should have been able to beat Charles Leclerc. Now, you can also make that argument that Charles Leclerc has qualified for more poles than anybody this season, only won 3 races, probably gave away a lot of opportunities. But when he is focused and when he is on, he's probably been the second best driver and one of the only people that could actually make Max Verstappen work. So there is the argument there. Where do you side in that? On one in that end, but then in the fact that Charles Leclerc, after all of this, and Ferrari, with all the mistakes they made this year, are now second in the Drivers' Championship with Charles Leclerc, best finish of his career, and also second in the Constructors' Championship for the first time in a few years as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, for Leclerc to only finish second or securing it in the last race of the year like that is actually kind of underwhelming, considering the type of pace that they showed in preseason testing, how they were at the beginning of the season. They were a lot closer to Red Bull at the beginning of the year, and it looked like it was going to be a battle between him and Verstappen, and then Verstappen began to pull away, and then Ferrari continued to fumble the bag with their strategy and the execution of their strategies. So to only get second now is kind of underwhelming, instead of maybe locking it up, a month ago or so. Like, for example, like when Verstappen won the championship, or even furthermore, being a lot closer to Max Verstappen, being a lot more competitive in the championship. Maybe not as competitive as last year, but certainly not locking it up as far back as Verstappen was able to. So the frustration there that you saw throughout the season from Ferrari on from both their teams, really, with Carlos Sainz as well. Kind of underwhelming that they only finished like this this year. But for Perez, they had opportunities as well. I mean, obviously they won arguably the biggest race of the year in Monaco. And then had opportunities. Of course, a week ago in in Brazil, had an opportunity to get another point that they might have needed for this race, and then ultimately finished in third. So there are multiple ways to look at it, and if they were able to get that 1 point that they needed from Max last week, maybe that changes things and changes your approach and how you need to approach the race and be able to secure second place in the standings. But alas, it did not happen, and Perez is now in third place. And to finish the year, on the other hand, maybe they adapted a different strategy or something, because obviously I think what they were looking for was to possibly take the lead away from Verstappen earlier in the race. Early on, to try to get out in front and build up a lead, I guess, before their first pit stop. But then they were also on the two-stop strategy, where as Leclerc, Verstappen, I think they're both on one-stop strategy, and I think that's what caused Perez to give up the fall behind early after kind of being close to Verstappen. Obviously, Verstappen's on hard tires and uh, Perez is on mediums, so of course he's gonna have a little bit more grip. But he used up his car a little bit, too early, I guess, and then allowed Verstappen to drive away, and then that falls into the clutches of Leclerc. So yeah, there's multiple ways to look at the battle for second in the points championship for the drivers' points championship for Ferrari. But yeah, a lot of missed opportunities. For Leclerc, Perez as well, and even for Carlos Sainz, and then he could even extend it further back even to Mercedes. Obviously the car stuff, their issues with the chassis, notwithstanding, just being able to execute in the races, and there's probably a couple of opportunities for Mercedes to win that they gave up as well. So, yeah, at the end of the day, Verstappen, he was able to kind of take advantage of all that and fall into, not gonna say he's gonna luck into or fall into 15 wins, because I don't think that's fair to say, but I think he definitely was able to you know uh, be be rewarded with all that with 15 wins for sure. So yeah, for Verstappen, um, follows up his 21 championship with a basically convincing victory and year in Formula One. So we're gonna see if they can repeat that next year. Obviously, everybody's gonna get close to them, and they'll have to make improvements in the off season. So yeah, it should be interesting next year. But for this year, it was clearly this was clearly Verstappen's year.
Yeah, and then I mean that's there. I think I said it yesterday that honestly, the way Ferrari was between both drivers, you know, eh, I think Verstappen probably was going to win double digit races. No doubt that he was going to win double digit races. He did. He was close to doing it last year anyway. When he actually had somebody to really battle, and when it comes to this year, if Ferrari had actually did what they needed to do, everybody was did what they needed to do. I think they would have won a few more races at least, and then it would have been somewhat more interesting, or at least it would have been a little further along for him to actually have to get that championship. Mercedes' car was never really good enough outside of a handful of races to really compete. And George Russell got the pole at Hungary. Then they didn't have any pace in the race at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Of course, we saw what happened, and that was largely um, uh, helped and assisted by the fact that Max Verstappen decided to drive right through Lewis Hamilton. So he decided he didn't want to win the race, and he didn't want Lewis to win the race, and in turn he allowed George Russell basically a free run, even with all the safety cars and all the bull crap that Formula One does. George Russell, I don't think was going to lose that race really. So in the end, those are the only teams that were in contention to win. Ferrari has all those points or second and all these things, but they gave away a lot. And it's something that they have to really look at for next year if they want to have a chance to beat Max Verstappen. Because it's the same way as when Vettel was at Red Bull in his heyday, winning championships. And honestly, it's the same kind of deal. It's just change your driver. That's the only difference. It says change a year and change your driver. That's what this is. It's like 2009 through 13 for Vettel is the same way as it is now. You'd have glimpses of other people like uh, Alonso back up for the 2 years with Ferrari in Vettel's time there. You had Lewis last year. Last year, maybe somebody will come up. Maybe it'll be George, but we will see. Or it looks like he's going to go on a run here unless stranger things take place. Um, Mentioned that George Russell, of course, gets fourth in the championship, is able to beat his teammate by what is it, 35 points. So basically, only the second legitimate time where Lewis Hamilton has been beaten by a teammate in his career. The other time was when Jenson Button beat him at McLaren back in those latter years at McLaren for Lewis. And then you have, Carlos Sainz gets a top 5 in points. Lewis ended up of course, falling out of the race, which helped. He got into an issue at the start of the race. Trying to remember was who it was he was with. I think it was like a McLaren or I forget who it was he was racing there at the start of the deal. And because he had gotten up to 4th, he had made a good start. And it might have been a Ferrari, I think. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head who he got into the incident with, but drove off the track and then hit the sausage curb, and I think that played a role in what eventually had played part in the hydraulic failure, being the first mechanical failure Mercedes had all year, the actual Mercedes team. And considering where Ferrari was this year, considering where Red Bull was at the start of the season for Mercedes with all the, power unit stuff and everything that's going on and all the bullcrap that they do to get around the rules, for one mechanical failure, 23 races or 46 races counting both cars, 49 if you're counting the sprints. No, 52. There you go. Finally getting the math. Look at me doing all my math. I sound like Howard Stern doing that crap. Great job by them. But that's one of his worst performances in the points. No wins, no poles for the first time in his career. So that's a disappointment, but it is what it is in that point. Esteban Ocon beats Fernando Alonso. Valtteri Bottas ends up finishing in the top 10. Sebastian Vettel finishes tied with Daniel Ricciardo in 11th with points, but Ricciardo, I think, had the higher finish. So there's that. In the constructors, Alpine beats out McLaren by 14 points. Alfa Romeo on countback and better finishing position finishes 6th in the Constructors' Championship. Haas beats AlphaTauri by 2 points to finish 8th in the Constructors. So that's big money there for sure. We talked about the Alonso. Of course, there was a lot of aggro with him at the end of the season. Him and Ocon weren't getting along. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But with him, he's going to Stroll F1. Stroll F1 showed how much they loved Sebastian Vettel by fucking him over on strategy last 2 races, and in turn helping Lance get around him and costing him points, costing Vettel points, which at the end of the day would have had him finish in the top 10 and probably would have had him in the top 10 in the World Championship, because what is it? Bottas. Oh no, actually, I'm incorrect. At least he would have finished 11th. Because what is it? He might have finished. I think he would have finished. Made him mad. Made him add maybe 5 more points. It would have been a few more points there, but it's the end for Sebastian Vettel. We talked about it last week, Josh. The way that the pre-race, they went and did kind of like a salute to him, and they all parted the seas essentially for him to walk through, and he acknowledged every driver on the grid, and that was really cool. And a lot of the tributes to him, at least for a little while, we're not going to see Sebastian Vettel. Hoping that he will do something else. I think you brought up Extreme E yesterday. I brought up WEC. I think World Rally Championship is even in play a little bit because they have an electrification aspect and it's outdoorsy. I hope it isn't the end of Sebastian Vettel racing. in a large sense. I hope he decides to do more. That's one that right there you needed. I mean, for Vettel, it's a disappointment, in a sense, because we're losing such a great person and such a great statesman in terms of Formula One, in terms of motorsport. Somebody who cares about a lot of things that are going on in our society. Um, and there aren't that many people who actually have the balls and have that stature that really, or have stature to be able to go out there and speak up, and he does. And there's something about that. He's cut from a different cloth. He's taking a different tack than his hero Michael Schumacher, his mentor in a sense too. He's setting a different path, and also setting a tone for other German drivers and other European drivers. I think to really have to meet up to go and carry themselves to such a high level.
For Vettel, like I talked about yesterday, not sure if it's going to be the end for him or not, but you look at other Formula One drivers who retired and then came back. I mean, you mentioned Michael, and Michael is his mentor, or one of his mentors at least, and uh, had a return. After 2006, he retired, and then uh, he retired, and then 2010 came back for 2 years with Mercedes, but then wasn't really much there at Mercedes, and kind of led to Lewis Hamilton getting the seat there at Mercedes. But Fernando Alonso retired, or at least quit racing for after 2018, and then came back after 2020. So he was out of the seat for 2 years. And granted, he still maintained some kind of activity. He went to Indy and attempted, and then made the race 1 year. Did Dakar, did the 24 hours of Le Mans and all
Lamar,
that stuff. So
WEC, yep.
WEC. So there's the opportunity. That might be the blueprint for Sebastian Vettel to go out and do
Kimi.
some kind of thing like that. Yeah.
Kimi's another one.
Yeah, Kimi. Yeah, exactly. Kimi just retired, and I mean, well, Kimi hasn't really. I mean, he's done NASCAR, right? But I mean, he hasn't.
He's retired, more retired.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
the person he went and left for a year or whatever with the Lotus deal because he basically had so much money that he put him out of business
Yeah,
and went out to NASCAR, did rallying, sucked at rallying, and then Ferrari called him back and he came back. And then he ended up with like Alpha Sauber too.
yeah. But I mean, it wasn't like an I'm leaving Formula One like for good situation where, with Michael. I mean, even Fernando, like, you weren't sure if they were going to come back. They were at a point in their life where they didn't need to come back, and they had, basically made their careers. So yeah, Vettel, maybe in 2 years, maybe he comes back, but I don't know. I feel like, with him, maybe just his, you know, personality, his persona the last couple of years, just kind of seemed like he wasn't as, passionate about the racing itself. And that's not to, insult or anything like that. It's just like an observation. Just, looked like he didn't have it in him anymore. The last couple of years, the last year at Ferrari, and most of the last 2 years at Aston Martin. So, uh, just that's my observation with Vettel, but we'll see. And yeah, I don't know if he would come back to Formula One full time. It'd have to be like a monster deal, and it would have to be like a prime ride. Can't be like what he was in the last couple of years at Aston Martin, just kind of riding around, or not really in a good situation. Really, it'd have to be a super competitive team for like 1 or 2 years, but like where you're almost guaranteed a championship, which, well, that's only going to happen if you get a seat uh at Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and those seats are all filled up, and they wouldn't really hire a veteran when they got a bunch of young guys on the come up, like Leclerc, Russell, and Verstappen. So, the opportunity there is probably not really there, but could see him in WEC, like we said, or doing some kind of endurance racing, Formula or not Formula E, but Extreme E, something like that, or even just like some type of active role where he takes on like kind of like a mentorship or something like that. Schumacher did something similar to that, so yeah, definitely could see him taking on those roles. But yeah, it's been a interesting year for or last couple years for Vettel, and we'll see what his future turns out to as Brandon Ayuk gets a touchdown and helps me for sure. So yeah,
I
good
think you
there.
just won.
Let
You
me
were
check the
only down by
score.
8 points, so that's another 6 plus whatever how many yards. So I think you won. There you go.
Yep.
So there was no way we were going to get this show over, but I was kind of thinking if you wanted to build it up to where it might have gotten to like the second half, but it's over already. So there you go. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I
Um,
wasn't sure. I thought that, like, cause like they said that Rondale Moore has got a groin injury and is questionable to return, and right now it's rainy and everything, and it looks like the 49ers are gonna do a run game heavy. So I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, and I thought it'd be pinned to the end where it was like they leave you on the hopes and then they just pull the rug from you and don't do any, nothing happens, and then I end up just narrowly losing to you. But no, it's there and
well,
I've already
I
got the
don't
points.
think I don't think that was going to happen, number one. And then when it was only 15 points, I'm like, I know these two players and I know what they're generally going to do no matter what the weather conditions, the way that Kyle Shanahan utilizes them. And now with this weather condition, essentially he's throwing to his four best players. That's their passing offense, and he's utilizing Christian McCaffrey as both. Uh, so the the notion was, I figured it was a matter of if or when, not if. So so credit to you. Another victory. I'm now relegated. I'm definitely relegated to what is it? I'm relegated to 8th this week. So there you go. So that's 0-2. I mean, even they would have been. This has been a weird week because now I'm in here too. So why is I shouldn't type it. So now I'm in deep trouble. I'm gonna need a miracle is what I'm gonna need to make the playoffs. But you have a good chance too. So I guess we can negotiate on here to see how many of the players I'm gonna dump off to you and how we can make it look like it isn't collusion. Um, at least I'm winning in my other league, and all of a sudden I might still have a chance there. I mean, I was already winning today, but Robbie Gould gets an extra point, and I left a bunch of points on the table anyway, so I have a much better looking team now than I did a week ago. So, and our team, and I'm going into this football segment now, so whatever. I mean, the Niners won, are winning. Sorry, Niners are winning 7-3. Start of the second quarter, really, and Josh is up by 0.15 points. I would like my IDPs to get corrections in their points, like I don't know, maybe 50, to give me help because my IDPs have been killing me all year, amongst other things,
Well, I
probably
mean,
operational
maybe
error.
the statisticians or whatever make a mistake and accidentally give you the stats of all the Jets players or something, or the Patriots players from yesterday.
You got to save that for later. That's a good point. You got to definitely save that salvo for later, especially with the way that Zach Wilson is talking. So yeah, the Formula One season is over. 100 and what is it? I got the counter over here on my phone. Um, let's see. He went from a second to a six for Jones. Okay. All right. So, uh, Was it 101 days till the Bahrain Grand Prix practice one? So for those who want to keep track of that, that's essentially 3.5 months, which means there's only 90 days until the Daytona 500. So that's even less time because, of course, you have the Clash and stuff like that. So people who like motorsports here have a little less time to wait. Have to get back here. I've been looking at football. Other key news for the postseason test coming up. So we'll go through who is driving in the postseason Abu Dhabi test. F122 less pain-filled than last year's. Yeah, absolutely, because it was a joke. It was fully manipulated by a dipshit who's been that he's so bad. Like, the reality is the things that Michael Massey did to manipulate that race were so bad they made him sign an NDA. Like how women have to sign when they're or whatever with famous guys or vice versa. Famous women with guys. Like, his acts were so egregious in that race, and it was so bad the way he officiated last year that they just said, here, sign this, disappear to Australia, be with all your other whatever, and then we're never going to hear from you again, you fucking cocksucker. And that's literally what it is. Because he's never going to say a thing. And it's like, go fuck yourself, you son of a bitch. You and all these other people that hate Lewis Hamilton, and you didn't want him to have 8 Formula One championships and have another win because you're racist and you're full of shit. It tells a lot. And I mean, it kind of makes sense considering the kind of society we live in today anyway. A lot of the bull crap that goes on. I'll get off my angry racial diatribe here. Let's see here. So for Red Bull, it doesn't show. It shows Liam Lawson. So at least Liam Lawson is going to be driving for the Red Bull team. I would venture to say Checo Perez would probably be in that car. I mean, I think, yeah, so 9 to 6, you change for only 2 cars, one for, and a second for young drivers. So, I think Liam Lawson does have a super license. I have to go and check. Yeah, he does. So he would be the main tester. So they have to have one person testing for the 2023. So I would venture to say that Sergio Perez would stick around, or some other driver would jump in to stick around to go and do the testing for the 2023 tires. And then for Ferrari, both Sainz and Leclerc, along with Bobby Schwartzman, it's only each with each turn a day and a half each. For only 3 days of preseason testing with a day and a half each, precious extra time. Only 1.5 days. So yeah, most drivers kind of run till the end of the year, meaning I had to get permission. Yeah, so that's Ferrari. Mercedes, I would assume that it's George Russell, but there's possibility that Lewis might be there. And then they're going to have Frederick Vesti driving for them. Pierre Gasly is going to be making his Alpine debut. And Jack Doohan, who's their young driver, and would have been eligible with super license points to possibly go. And that's a turnover. That's a turnover. And the Niners, that's Jimmy Ward. Oh, there you go. Okay. We'll take that. Yeah, that's a touchdown. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, the new combination at McLaren. Piastri making his McLaren debut. Valtteri Bottas will be testing for Alfa Romeo with the new tires, and Teo Pocher, who is also eligible with super license, but he's a young driver, likely to be in that team, I would think, in 2024. Because I think Pocher and also Liam Lawson probably are going to move to Super Formula next year. Alonso will make his Aston Martin debut. Him and Stroll will share the car, and then Felipe Drogovic will drive the other one, the F2 champion. Nico Hulkenberg for Haas will make his debut for them, and then Pietro Fittipaldi is the young driver there. Yuki Tsunoda for AlphaTauri, and Nick DeVries making his AlphaTauri debut. And then Alex Albon for Williams and Logan Sargent, which is kind of a goes and breaks a part of what we're going to talk about later in the GSP roundup for Logan Sargent there. So they will be testing there and testing the tires and all, and then they'll be trying to figure out a lot of things with one time. This is the last time all these cars are going to run, so a lot of data they're trying to collect on those tires, but then also figure out some other things for some of these new drivers leading into next year with the limited testing that they're going to have. So yeah, we're talking football. A lot of this show so far has been football centric. Josh, I guess in your case, being on the bye this week, the Niners were on bye a few weeks ago. So for you guys being on bye, Tennessee ends up getting a victory, I believe, right?
They won on Thursday night.
They won against Green Bay. Yeah, that's right. All right, thank you for that. And then Indy lost late to Philadelphia, which was basically a grudge game for Sirianni. Like I'm trying to do the whole Pat McAfee thing. The Goomba Sirianni, Italiano Sirianni, whatever. But then he was hard up. He wanted to beat the shit out of them because of them firing Frank Reich, and then
Jeff Sunday came to coach, so
whatever the hell. Yeah, Jeff Saturday, Sunday, whatever. They sucked. They sucked at the end of the game is what happened. They had a great game going and they were dominating, and then I don't know what the hell they did late in the game to basically allow Philly to go and look like what they've been looking like all year. And then Houston got bitch slapped in their game, and they're working on being the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. They look pretty good in that. But I mean, in your case, just look at the records right now, NFL standings. Yeah, because I'm curious. I mean, I know the Jags. It's probably not going to happen this year in terms of contention. 3-7. It's going to be very tough. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you count Indianapolis, 10 teams you'd have to get around just to get to the 7. It would be very hard, but you're only like a half game behind them or whatever in terms of Indianapolis. What is the goal now and here in the second half of the season, I guess, in regards to the Jags for what they're looking forward to with Doug Peterson, this regime with the Balky, and especially I think with Trevor Lawrence, knowing that you've invested so much in him as a number one overall pick, and looking at what's been going on with some of these other quarterbacks from this particular draft class, two in particular, like you brought up a few moments ago, or at least one in particular. It's not looking good in terms of these quarterbacks. So Trevor has a lot of pressure on him, I think, to really perform. He's not going to lose his job. He's going to be around next year. He's going to have 5 years to figure it out. But I think there's got to be a progression as the season goes on. Oh, that's a big catch. Oh, GK got it. That's a tutty. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, boy. They're gonna Claire. He's gonna impregnate Claire. That's for sure. He finally got a touchdown. Jeez, he knows how to throw to George Kittle. I'll say he didn't give. So it was a touchdown, or I thought it was a touchdown, but it was just a fumble recovery. Okay, and then he stepped up in the pocket. What a novel concept, Jimmy! Holy mother of God! Oh, and he broke his route. Oh, and he underthrew him and almost got him killed. Okay, but still, what are the things that you're looking at? Who are some of the players you're looking at on your roster in the second half of the season that either need to show out or could go and really, elevate themselves to a different status as you go on into next year? Because really, that's what it is. Houston's going to be the number one overall pick. Indianapolis is a dumpster fire. You guys are kind of in between. Tennessee is that base team that they have stability, but they really don't have much of anything on offense other than Derrick Henry. Their defense, though, is tough and always seems to be because Mike Vrabel's our coach. It's a division that is winnable if you can put the pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, it's a winnable division if you have the right, things lined up. But the Jags, so for Trevor Lawrence, I think the first thing he needs to look for is, or that we need to look for him is have more games like how he played in Kansas City, against Oakland at home, against Indianapolis at home, and then on the road at on the road in San Diego or in Los Angeles. So those 4 games are his 4 best games that he's had his this season and probably in his career. So I would look at those games first and see or those performances, see what he can do in the second half. So I'd look for more of that kind of play from him. Just solid play all around. There's one particular play that he had in the Chiefs game. We had a deep 30-yard pass to Marvin Jones. We haven't really seen a whole lot of that, and the Jags don't really have the personnel for that. But if he's able to figure out the deep ball and get his accuracy issues figured out there, it looks like maybe he is beginning to figure that part of the game out. So, I'd like to see more of that, but just more solid play and, less mistakes like that he made in the losses that they had, where, he had goal line interceptions in the red zone, back-breaking turnovers like that, or not fumbling the ball 4 times in a game like he did against the Eagles or anything like that. So that's what I'm looking for. For Trevor, just be solid and don't be the reason that they lose, and then try. I would also like to see if they get in a situation, because they've had it happen already a few times this year where they the defense gave up a late lead, and then the Jags have to come back on offense, and Trevor hasn't been quite able to, lead them down the field and score a touchdown. So I'd like to, if they get into that situation, I would like to see them, convert that into a touchdown. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking for him. For the rest of the players, we'll see if Travis Etienne can continue the run that he's been on, the last couple of weeks prior to Kansas City. More 100-yard games and stuff like that. The offensive line, like to see improvement there as well in pass protection and in run blocking. Defensively, I think the players that I'm looking for, they're rookies. Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd on defense. They haven't really done all that well this season. Trayvon Walker's had some pretty interesting moments, the beginning of the year, but he hasn't really had a whole lot of stats since then. He had a pretty good game in Kansas City and at home in Oakland, but wasn't able to convert any of his pressures into sacks. He just able to pressure the quarterback. So I'd like to see more of that. And then Devin Lloyd has had some issues in coverage this season and giving up plays there. And he's still coming off of the hamstring injury as well, so looking for him to have a better outcome there and figure things out, because he's actually lost some playing time to their third round or fourth round rookie linebacker as well. So yeah, I'd like to see more from him as well. And the defensive line as a whole, they've got, I think, a 36% pressure rate in the league, which is like the fifth highest, but they like their ratio of pressure rate to sacks is like last, because they haven't been able to get any sacks or anything like that. So I'd like to see them do better there in that, and convert more of those pressures into sacks. And then on the rest of the defense, Tyson Campbell's been playing really good this year at their number one cornerback spot. Rayshon Jenkins has been playing good at safety, and so has Andre Cisco the last couple of games. So the only position there that really I'd like to see improvement from is the number two cornerback, and maybe even the slot corner position, because that's where a lot of the trouble has been for Jacksonville. And with uh, uh, defense, if you have one side of the field blocked up, it's really hard, and the other side is kind of open. You're always going to go to the open side. So that's where teams have really been exploiting the Jaguars in some key scenarios late in games. Example, they gave up a big pass to Jerry Jeudy in the London game, and it was because they attacked the right cornerback, or the number two cornerback, that it wasn't Tyson Campbell. So would like to see more improvement there. Special teams, want to see more improvement from their kickers. Missed a couple of kicks the last couple of games. Missed two field goals that would have made it a 4-point game for the Jaguars against Kansas City. So would like to see him convert more of those kicks. And want to see them just be able to have a better opportunity on offense in general, and maybe they can go out and win some games. Don't know if they'll win the playoffs or anything like that, or make it into the playoffs, but it would be really interesting to watch if that were to happen. It's not over yet, but if they go out this Sunday against the Ravens and lose that game, and then lose against the Titans, it's probably over. So we'll see how they do. But at least they've been competitive in games, and they've been a lot more interesting to watch than the last 2 or 3 years. Since they were in the at the end of the Blake Bortles era, and when they went to the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. So we'll see how it happens the rest of the season, the rest of the way.
Yeah, and for the Niners right now, they're up 14-3, and it looks like they have the ball back again. Or yeah, they're on defense right now. That was okay. So that was Greenlaw going and getting that. So actually, Arizona's driving right now. Shavarius Somuni Ward is back, but he's struggling a little bit. But the Niners right now trying to stay in the playoff mix. If they win, they would take the lead in the division in the NFC West. Of course, the NFC is quite wide open relative to the AFC. I mean, there actually are more teams in play. You fell over camera, people, DeAndre, you freaking woman beater, or whatever the fuck was the reason why you were out for all those weeks. I think it had to be assault or something. Some bullshit with
No, it
him.
was PEDs. D Hop was out
Well,
for PEDs.
well, I figured it was, yeah, well, we'll just say it was PEDs, and he probably beached women too. I'll just go and say it. It's our podcast. Who cares? What is he going to do? Is he going to listen to it and he's going to sue me for libel? Really? He didn't, fuck him. And he plays for the Arizona Cardinals, so they can go fuck themselves. Shitty ass coach, shitty ass GM, racist owner, they're racist people, one of the crappiest states in the union. So, um, they didn't even like this team. All of a sudden, they like them. Oh, I wonder why. Um, the Niners right now, I mean, injuries aside, trying to go and keep the momentum, trying to go and make sure you win these. They lost games that they should have won, and that Atlanta game looks worse every week, even though Atlanta did win yesterday. And um, I mean, in terms of the conference, right now they are seventh. They actually are seventh based on their their division record. That's what it is. Even though the Washington General Commanders have 6 wins, they haven't taken a bye yet. Um, they would go and swap out the Seahawks if they were to win tonight. Their home records are the same. Road records would end up being the same if he did win, and if the Niners did win today, they would end up to 4-0 in the division with 1 win against each of their other um, teams in the division. They have swept, of course, the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. So that's a touchdown for the Cardinals. It's now 14-10. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to go down the whole way. Niners division or the conference record is 4-2. They've of course lost to Atlanta, and they lost to and they lost to Chicago, of course, to start the season, which was atrocious. And that's literally their only win in the NFC this year. They've won 2 home games. One of the 2 home games was the opener of the season against the Niners. Lovely. But, you know, they're in the mix. They could move up. I think the NFC East is going to be carnage filled between all these teams because all 4 of them are in the top 8. The NFC South is a dumpster fire. And essentially one of those teams is going to have a home game against a likely NFC East competitor. The Detroit Lions are going and moving forward. The Fighting Dan Campbells are on a little bit of a heater. 3 wins in a row, beating the Giants here at MetLife. Big deal there for sure. So that's something to see. Minnesota got anal dry by the Dallas Cowboys, and then they're going to have to play against the New England Patriots. Of course, the New England Patriots-Jets game put football back probably about 50 years with the futility on offense. You could say that the defenses were great, which at the end of the day, when you consider it's Bill Belichick, who's like an OG, and then Bob Saleh, who knows how to call a great defense. Okay, that's there. But 2 quarterbacks from that vaunted draft class a couple of years ago look pretty ordinary in Zach Wilson and Mac Jones, who were that was the same class for Trevor. They were drafted behind Trevor, and my goodness, Zach Wilson does not look like he knows how to play football at all. I think he knows how to, bang out inbreds in Utah or something, or his mom or whatever. But he definitely does not know how to throw a football or read a defense, which is a big problem. And I never thought I would see the day where I would say, you know what, Jets, you need to play Joe Flacco. But Jets, you need to play Joe Flacco. If you want to make the playoffs this year with this defense, you need to play Joe Flacco. Period. End of story. Because they were 2-2 with him. I think they could have been 3-1. He was able to spread the ball around. I think Brees Hall was a big part of it too, to be fair. Brees Hall was a great running back, rookie running back, and he got hurt, tore his ACL, whatever, but he'll be back. You have James Robinson from Josh's Jaguars. You have Michael Carter. You have a running game. You can run the ball the same way the Niners. It's the same offense. You can run the ball. Don't tell me you can't run the ball. It's BS. They don't trust. They're not as fearful of it because Brees Hall could break off big runs. But you can run the ball. You have wide receivers. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Barrios. You have all these Mims. You have all these other people. You have tight end Conklin or whatever. They have weapons, but you have a jackass behind center. That's the problem. Somebody needs to beat the crap out of him in the locker room, and then maybe he'll decide he wants to go and be an NFL quarterback. Okay, all right. Yeah, McCaffrey got another one. So that's what it is there. I mean, for me in fantasy, I'm in deep trouble. I'm going to fall to 8th. I'm tied with Vic, which is pathetic. The irony is I'm only a game out of 5th. So even with how sad everything is, I'm only a game out of 5th. So there is hope. Josh gives himself a little bit of breathing room. He's 2 games behind the top 3, but he is, he would still have to work. It's still pretty close between the 4th through 9th in this league is only 2 games with 3 weeks to go. So that's how it should be, really, honestly. And then you look at, Wilson's dad. He's going to be the low point scorer. Vic is dead, and he's going to be second low point scorer. Right now, what's it called? Jeff is going to tie Wilson for first, and then Professor J gets the biggest win he's had all year, honest to God. They finally put in Elijah Mitchell. Look at that. Right now, they put in Elijah Mitchell in the second quarter. And then there's a flag, of course. Yeah, there's a flag. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's just been a low scoring kind of week so far. Very, very low across the board, really.
Yeah, I mean, what is it called? Steve, who's one of those 5 and 6 teams. He's actually one of the new people in the league, and he's a very competitive player. Has won twice this year. I thought he had won last week, but after the count back, Wilson won. I think this week he's going to win for the 3rd time. I'm pretty certain of that. Only 3 guys have won the weekly points this year, which is insane. But I guess it's not as bad as I thought, but we'll see. Got 3 weeks to go. Need to make the playoffs. Need some help. Need some hope. Whatever. Good juju.
Opium.
Whatever. Some drugs. Whatever the hell. Maybe. Speaking of drugs, my other team in Yahoo, Aaron's Ayahuasca, will move up. I'll jump 2 spots to 8th, so I'm tied with 3 teams for that final spot, and I'm only a game out of 5th, and I'm 2 out of 3rd. So in theory, if I can get on a run, I could really move up and give myself a chance in this playoff. And I have a pretty solid core here. I mean, I have Dak Prescott. I do need a tight end, honestly, but Prescott is all right. I have Higgins, Olave, but I think Higgins plays better when what's his name at the Cincinnati number 1 wide receiver plays. I forget what his name is. The guy that got hurt, and he's going to come back this week. But When he plays, Higgins usually does better. Olave actually had a good game. Pierce went nowhere because of how bad it was. Montgomery actually had a good game, even though Chicago lost. Probably not going to have a good game this week because, I mean, to be fair, if they don't have Justin Fields, they ain't going to do nothing. I have the Jets defense, so I'm not going to change that the rest of the year. I have Christian Watson. I have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I have Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, and J.K. Dobbins. I'd probably have to drop somebody out of that. I might drop Hayden Hurst or drop one of them, And so we're in the mix there. And then in the sleeper league, we're in. So in the sleeper league, we're losing, I think, this week, but we are, we're in the mix for the playoffs at the moment. We're gonna lose. We've lost. So in turn, one team trade, two-way trade. What is this? Active trades: Jacoby Myers, James Robinson for Tyler Lockett. Oh, okay. And then, did we get Aaron Jones? Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. So Aaron Jones for a 6th-round draft pick. Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. So we have Aaron Jones now to add to bolster our running back core. I mean, the Justin Watson played actually didn't hurt us. I mean, he scored 9.7 points. Look at that. Wow. We're 6-4. We're gonna end up falling to 6-5 this week, and we lost to the second place team. In terms of other players, the third place team has a chance of losing here at the moment. The first place team is going to win. Fourth place team is going to lose, more than likely. Sixth place team is going to win. So right now, it's kind of iffy. D-Soul, I'm trying to look for, where's D-Soul? He's in process of possibly losing. Fields of Gold has a chance of losing. So even with us losing, we're still we're okay. We're all in a mix. Basically, it's a pot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams competing for essentially 4 spots. So hopefully we're not the team that falls out in that sense. Because I'm trying to look at what are we thinking? What? We're not going to take the trade. That's what we're thinking because it's a terrible trade. That's why I really do not like. I'll say this on my podcast. I do not like the Sleeper app. I will not be moving my league to Sleeper. If anything, if I'm going to move my league, I'm going to move it to NFL Network because I liked back a few years ago when I actually played an NFL Network league. I liked their setup. Very nice. It was a very good setup. So I mean, there's a possibility that's what might happen, but I'm trying to look for. Yeah, there you go. So it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a top 6. Okay. So as long as we make the top 6, we're good. And then, okay. So, all right. So that's what we need. We need to make the top 6. So it's like 5. Yeah, it's 5 for 4 in that sense. Hoping the Niners. Honestly, Jimmy is actually playing good today.
Yeah.
He must have heard me insult him yesterday to Katie Mox, who's one of many hot babes who are on TV and talk about sports betting. And she's also from San Francisco, and I kind of have a feeling she probably has had sex with Jimmy Garoppolo, but even if she hasn't, I don't know how, because Jimmy Garoppolo would be able to bang out a chick that hot. I made a comment about Zach Wilson. And I'm like, Jimmy is basically Zach Wilson with some of the crap he throws and some decisions he makes. It's like, he is not like him. That's her whole entire response. And that was after she went and copied one of my responses to her on a DM. So, oh well, I got in the doghouse with her. What a shame. It's not like she would fuck a fat, broke 37-year-old anyways. So, it is what it is on that. Still be a simp. Either way, we'll definitely be talking a lot more football as the rest of this year goes on, and prior to some other racing going on. Probably take a couple weeks off here and there during the winter. Probably during Christmas and New Year's. Probably going to take a break, but we'll run out the rest of the year hoping to get maybe one or two more guests on. We can do some interviews here and racing interviews. May try to work on some other things. That might be the way we can keep it going the whole year. Robbie Gould is out there for field goals. So, all right, had a chance, but we will move on. We'll move on to, and okay, good. 17-10, 43 seconds to go in the first half. All right. We'll get into the roundup here and we have, So in F2, we already knew Felipe Drogovic was the champion a while back in Monza, but in terms of this race, there was still more to go, still people and points and things to decide. Liam Lawson gets the victory in race 1 over Richard Vachor, Felipe Drogovic, Dennis Hauger, Amory Cordial, got a 5th, Logan Sargent 6th, Jack Doohan 7th, Nisani somehow got points in 8th. He had a decent weekend, actually, Roy Nisani, considering how mediocre he is. In race 2, Iwasa, Ayumu Iwasa, Drogovic, Lawson round out the podium. Dennis Hauger is 4th, Logan Sargent 5th, benefiting from issues for Jack Doohan, who had pit road problems there with a loose wheel. Cordial, it was the best weekend of his career, honestly. Cordial gets 6th place. Richard Vachor 7th, Yuri Vips 8th, Marcus Armstrong 9th, Nisani rounds out the top 10. The point standings to end the 2022 Formula 2 Championship: Drogovic, Teo Pocher, Liam Lawson, Logan Sargent are all super license eligible. I guess with countback from the last 3 years, Jack Doohan is also eligible. Iwasa, I kind of feel like he's going to be getting FP1s for Red Bull and for AlphaTauri next year, in lieu of likely taking over for Yuki Tsunoda unless something crazy happens. The bigger story is that Logan Sargent has the points to now move up to Formula One, and he will move of course, to Williams. And, there was a couple other news stories. Frederick Vesti will be driving for Prema in Formula 2. Artur Leclerc will be driving for the Dams team. What is it? Pocher is probably going to Super Formula along with Liam Lawson, as I mentioned. Ollie Bierman is moving up to with Prema. I think Enzo Fittipaldi is going to move, basically take over for Logan Sargent. Carlin, excuse me, and he'll be a Red Bull supported driver now. So that's a sack. So that's probably the end, and that's a sack for Nick Bosa. And then Dennis Hauger also will be the 2021 Formula 3 champion. Will be moving over to MP Motorsport to take over the seat vacated by Felipe Drogovic. I mean, I think Ollie Bierman must have a lot of money because he wasn't that great. But 2 months. So we'll see about some of the other seats as they go along. A lot of funding and a lot of stuff goes on with those seats in regards to Formula 2 and Formula 3. We'll probably know more as these next couple months go on. Form Extreme E will be running their final race in Punta del Este in what's it called? I hate this website. It's the crappiest in Uruguay. There you go. Energy Expre. In Uruguay. So the Rosberg team right now has, with Kotolinsky and Christofferson, has a 17-point lead over Cristina Gutierrez and Sebastian Loeb driving for X44. And then the Sands and Signs for the Iconia team, they're in third. The Sarah Price and Kyle LeDuc, who won't be in this race this weekend for the Ganassi, the Hummer EV Ganassi team, have an outside shot of the championship. They're still within 30 points. So 2 races they'll be running this weekend, of course. So that's the current situation in Extreme E. The last race, Cristina Gutierrez, Sebastian Loeb won. Oh, look at look at I love Susie Cover. The only thing I won't do is go up to her and say I want to kiss her, even though I would. Like Joe Namath did. Sands and Signs finished second. Jutta Kleinschmidt and Nasser Al-Attiyah for the Apt team finished third at the last X-Prix. The McLaren team with Emma Gilmore and Tanner Faust finished fourth, and then the Hummer EV Chip Ganassi team finished fifth. So that's that was from the last race. And then I know that there's trying to see, I mean, there's some other news. I mean, Katie Munnings and Timmy Hansen are back for the Andretti United Extreme E team. I think there might be some other stuff going on with those two. What is it? RJ Anderson is going to be racing for Kyle LeDuc. Veloce Racing has a new driver lineup for this last race with 2021 champion Molly Taylor as part of the Rosberg team, and then former Jensen Button XC driver Kevin Hansen, who's in what is it, rally cross, they have the Formula Rally Cross or whatever here in the US with Nitro Rallycross. There you go. He's part of the Nitro Rallycross deal here with Travis Pastrana and all that. So those two will be taking over the Veloce Racing team. Clara Anderson will be driving for Apt Cooper XC in for Jutta Kleinschmidt, who got hurt. And then, so those are some of the things. We'll talk about it next week on the GSP. What happened in the Formula E finale. And then, World Touring Car Cup now. It's not the World Touring Car Championship. With one race to go this season. Here's Saudi Arabia. Mikhail Azcona is the champion more than likely for Hyundai. Spanish driver for Hyundai. He'll be the likely champion. I mean, he's 60 points ahead of Nestor Girolami, who drives for Honda. Nathaniel Berthon for Audi is in third. Rob Huff, former World Touring Car champion, former British Touring Car driver for the Seat Cupra team, is in fourth. Norbert Micheliz is in fifth. Santiago Urrutia, formerly a driver in Indy Lights for many years, driving the Lincoln Co. for Lincoln Co. team, is in seventh. Jan Erlacher, another Lincoln Co. driver. Esteban Guerrieri, who was in sports cars, I believe, might have been in Indy Lights. I feel like that he was an Indy Lights driver. It sounds familiar. Tom Coronel, who may or may not follow you on social media. He's in 12th in points. Yvonne Muller, multi-time champion in both British touring cars and World Touring Cars. 14th, Tiago Montero, former Formula One driver, legendary. He famously finished third in the U.S. Grand Prix that had 6 cars, ahead of his teammate Noreen Karthikeyan, which would have been much bigger for India, honestly. No offense to Tiago. He's won championships in touring cars and other series. So those are some of the drivers we will see in that. I mean, basically, you have 4 manufacturers in World Touring Cars. It's run in the same TCR. They use the same TCR formula as they use here in the U.S. for the WeatherTech, or not the WeatherTech sports cars, but the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which Brian Hurd Autosport runs the Hyundai program, and they've been dominant. That's where Taylor Hagler has won 2 consecutive championships. And then Mark Wilkins and Robbie Wickens are teammates in that as well. So they're basically a super team there. The Hyundais dominate. I'm curious if some of these other cars, like the Lincoln Co. or the Cooper, would come over here. But something to look at for sure. Josh, I know the South Carolina 400 went on this weekend, and a certain famous driver was in it, and he had quite an interesting day just based on reading some of the stories and social media from Matt Weaver and some of the highlights. It wasn't exactly the greatest officiated race by any means, but old Junebug was very active and yelling at his crew chief Josh Berry and amongst other people while he's getting into it the way his dad might have in his heyday.
Yeah, it was an interesting race there. South Carolina 400. Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming back to the late models once again, racing the throwback scheme to his dad from 1998 with Bass Pro Shops gold car there. And yeah, it was a pretty sweet ride there. And, Junior, had a, I'm not going to say he had a chance to win the race, but, Dale definitely had a top 5 car there at the end. And he tried to get inside, for fighting for third place and spun out. I'm trying to see who he spun out here. He spun out Matt Cox for third place, and then Junior got sent to the back, but he made his way back up into ninth place, I think, by the end of the race. So solid finish there.
Sent back twice.
Yeah, sent back twice actually. Yeah, that is correct.
So he hit somebody else
Yeah,
too.
yeah, he hit somebody else. Yeah, but yeah, he ended up finishing ninth. So not right really finished, but there's also a lot of questionable officiating. For who is supposed to be get sent back and things. Mason Diaz is I guess an up and comer racer in the late models, and he got spun out by Sam Yarbrough there. So yeah, kind of an interesting deal there, and Yarbrough didn't get penalized, I think, or something like that. So yeah, kind of a really interesting race. I was hoping to watch it, but I don't know. I didn't want to get the flow racing just for that, because I'd have to. I don't know. I was wanting to, but I just ended up not doing that. But I was following it on social media from Weaver and then other people on Reddit and Twitter, following what they were talking about the race. But uh, yeah, it was definitely a good race from a short track racing perspective. You saw tire wear, and Junior saved his tires towards the end. He was going pretty easy, and he managed to save it for the end, but didn't quite work out trying to race hard. And he said his brain wasn't working there towards the end, so he's making a couple of mistakes, even with all the experience that he has as a racer, compared to the field. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting race. The beginning part, I guess the events leading up into it, they were talking about some of the pre-race events running over. I guess they had some bandoleros, some trucks, or like pro trucks or something like that, and other stuff that was running over into the race. And then I think they started the race a lot later than what they wanted to. So yeah, definitely a lot of eventful things happening before the race. But yeah, I mean, it's a solid event, and hopefully next year Junior comes and runs a lot more short track races. Maybe comes down to Florida and races the Snowball Derby in Pensacola here in December. So well, not this year, but maybe next year. I don't think he's going to run any more late model stuff the rest of the year. But yeah, good stuff there. And then I think next week they'll be running that late model car again, but it'll be Josh Berry behind the wheel, so it should be interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And Josh got on the radio and said, "Keep my car clean. I need to race it next week." Kevin Harvick actually, with his crew chief Rodney Childers, they're building a late model, and supposedly on Twitter he made a post saying that he making a mention of wanting to go and run this weekend in the Thanksgiving race, and he got the eye from Dalana, which probably means he won't be in the race. But it doesn't mean that Rodney can't drive it. Let's see. Let's see if that'll happen. We might bring that up next week. Landon Pembleton or whatever was the other guy that Junior definitely dumped. The other guy, I'm not so sure. I think he gave him room, but Pembleton he definitely used up in turn one, finishing ninth, considering that kind of competition. And then the Cars Tour goes and puts out that for pro late models, you can be 12 years old. Can you imagine? I don't know what you're doing at 12 years old, man, but I know what I was doing at 12 years old. If you're going to tell me I'm going to be driving a pro late model, I'd probably be dead. So I don't know where we're going with that. I mean, to be fair, Arca's kind of like what 15 years old or 16 years old or whatever the hell
Well,
for
yeah, it's just
running
a bunch
short
of rich
tracks and
kids
stuff.
that don't have respect for the equipment. That's what it is, and
Do you
that's
mean
why
like
you've seen
Ty
a lot of
Gibbs?
wrecking. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, well, when I was 12, I was playing NR 2003, so I mean, maybe I would have had a little bit of semblance to knowing what I was doing, but I definitely, I don't know. I mean, I could have been as reckless as some of these young kids coming up. I don't know, but it's yeah. I feel like you know it's a pretty big class. And there's got to be some limit where okay, you need to be of legal driving age, like to run, especially if you're 12 years old. Running like that. But that's how you're running. And actually, I heard a well, I mean, there's been a rumor floating around for past like maybe 3 or 4 weeks that Dale Jr. had purchased and his sister had purchased the Cars tour. And that's been,
which
uh,
makes
yeah,
sense, honestly.
yeah, that's been interesting to see if that would happen. I mean, I obviously I think it's gonna happen. There's been some pretty strong confirmations. I think Weaver, like somebody asked Weaver, and he said that on he basically couldn't talk anything about it, which pretty much means that yeah, Junior bought the series, and they're probably just waiting to make the official announcement. So, yeah, that's gonna be an interesting deal there. Junior goes out and buys the late model series. We got Tony owning a dirt series and uh. All Star Circuit of Champions, and you got other things. So, slowly and slowly, all the veterans from NASCAR are just gonna buy up all the, you know, regional tours, regional racing series, and then that'll just be the new funnel for NASCAR to derive their talent pool in the future. Maybe we'll see.
What would really make things crazy is if Tony somehow or another bought the World of Outlaws. That's when, winged sprint car racing, 410 winged sprint car racing, and late models and what is it called, 358 crate modifieds. That's when things might change in that sense, because there's a lot of different series and things going all over. And then you also have USAC in that sense. So I know Tony's got a lot of things going on. There's his and Leah Pruitt's anniversary, 1 year anniversary of their wedding. So happy anniversary to those two. He's definitely hitting above his weight on that because she is fit. And I'm pretty sure she can suck the chrome off a trailer hitch too. And then I forget, there was somebody else at a anniversary. I think it's 7 years for Green Rehall and Courtney Force. Now they have two baby girls. So Graham, for having the horse teeth that he has and the face that he has, um, and having half the genes of Bobby Rahal in terms of visual. He doesn't have the driving talent of Bobby. Definitely hit above his weight too. But then when you consider he married Courtney, the teeth situation between the forces and the Rahals is pretty intense. Pretty intense for sure. So happy anniversary to both of those lovely couples. Yeah, I mean, South Carolina 400 this past weekend at Florence, and then next weekend there's going to be another um, race which Josh Berry will be a part of. I mean, Coleman Presley actually came out of retirement to go and run and win the Hickory Fall Brawl with Joey Logano, his driver, who he spots for, helping him and his good friend. So I brought up Nitro Rallycross. There you go. Travis Pastrana won that when I was watching the video of it. I think a couple days ago. So I didn't know it was that far back. And there's a lot of these guys that run in these other electric series. In that, I'm trying to go and find the announcement from Junior's announcement for where he's going to go and run. I figured it was up here. Trying to see. All right. Just give me a second here. Before we go and move forward, we don't have a whole lot to go. But yeah, that was the Hail Melon, Martinsville, Let's see. Oh, there you go. Florida. Okay, Flow Racing, Homestead. I thought he made that announcement like prior to Halloween. Didn't he make that announcement prior to Halloween that he was going to go and run, or was it a few weeks before?
Uh, Pretty sure it was like right around Halloween time when Dale Jr. made the announcement that he was going to run the South Carolina 400.
So I'm gonna go media. So I'm gonna go and do it that way. Yeah. So podcasts. So you got yes, videos. So articles. There you go. Where the hell can you get articles? There you go. Oh, so they did have. Oh, that's from a while ago. Okay. Marcus Smith and Ken. Oh, so he doesn't even have. What the? All right, whatever. I was trying to look up the. It's probably on the Xfinity side. That's probably what it is because I'm trying to. That was my mistake. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. So gonna go through that. Austin Hill, Parker Quinn, Ty Gibbs runs over. Whatever. Bass Pro. There you go. So yeah, there's the with the late model Florence Motor Speedway, and then they'll run. Josh Berry will run the following race at and then they're gonna sponsor. Yeah, they're gonna sponsor Carson Quapple in all for the whole for 20 of late model events in the Southeast in 2023. So that's the whole entire Cars tour, and then a few more races, which I would assume also means because late models and super late models, I guess there's a difference. I really don't like somebody needs to tell me what the real difference is because they look exactly the same. And then and then Josh Berry will have 11 races with that scheme, and then he's going to run he's going to be running a late model race this weekend, and I forget what the race that same race that Kevin Harvick was talking about running in I think it was Langley. So that's what it is. Langley Speedway, Virginia. That's what it is. I think that's what it is. Langley Speedway. Let's see. Larry King Laws Langley Speedway. Loads up pretty slow. That's for sure. 2023. Okay, so it's not there. Third annual Sean. No. So, damn it. I'm trying to figure out what the hell the race is that they're going to be running this coming weekend, but whatever. Let's move on to what were you thankful for this year in the 2022 motorsport season? So many things, so many first-time winners, especially in NASCAR. You had a lot of new champions. You had some repeat champions, people who hadn't won in a while. You had domination in certain segments across all different types of motorsports. But for you, Josh, what were you thankful for in terms of other than winning the Indy 500? To be fair, what were you thankful for in terms of motorsports this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in general, uh, I mean, yeah, the sim racing, yeah, I won the Indy 500, so yeah, definitely thankful for that. The other things, racing wise, I think I'm thankful for, getting to see, we'll start with the IndyCar stuff. Getting to see Jimmy Johnson race on ovals this year, that was some pretty memorable moments there. Seeing him run, at Texas and not Iowa. Indianapolis 500. He had that good save in qualifying, so that was incredible to see, and everything. So glad to be able to see that. glad to have attended the Rolex 24 this year. That was a good experience there. Of course, we talked about that at the very beginning of the year. Can't believe it's already November actually, and we're here now. It's we're here in November, and honestly, it feels like only like a week or two ago that was at the Rolex 24. So yeah, that was kind of interesting there. And hopefully, I can try to go back next year and everything. So yeah, that be something I'd like to do again. Uh, NASCAR side things. We had so many different winners this year. And, thankful we got to see some guys that been on the cusp of winning. We got to see your guy Chase Briscoe win this year.
You
Ross
definitely
Chastain.
won this game because Debo just got a touch.
Okay, good, good. So yeah, that Ross Chastain winning this year at Kentucky, or not Kentucky, I'm about to say Kentucky, but he won at Talladega, won at Coda.
Coda.
Yeah, that was a pretty good finish. So thankful for that. Of course, thankful for the Hail Melons moment this year. That was probably the moment of the year in racing. Really, I mean, everybody was praising that one. No matter who you were, and got the most attention. So very thankful for that. That we got to witness that happened. Yeah, thankful for I'm trying to think what else, in Xfinity series, there's a lot of good racing action there. Junior Motorsports had a good season, even though they didn't win the championship. So, thankful Dale Jr.'s team got to do that. And, speaking of Dale Jr., thankful that he was able to do stuff in late models this year, and that he was also able to run a race, once again in Martinsville. One of the quotes of the year as well. Uh, damn, Josh hit the right front of me, Bob. Didn't you see it? So, you know, um, wanted to, wanted to be able to see him do that. So, he's
What was that? Josh hit me in the right
yeah,
front. Is that
yeah.
okay?
It's like Josh hit me in the right front there, Bob. Didn't you see it? That's what he
Josh
said.
hit me in the right front right there, Bob. What, you didn't see that?
Yeah, that was Dale Jr.'s quote to Bob Pockris and everything. That was one of the quotes of the year in NASCAR. So yeah, glad he ran Martinsville in the Xfinity car. Glad he
I
ran.
was holding a
Yeah,
beer and talking to two other
yeah,
people there.
exactly. And glad he's able to run North Wilkesboro and ran the South Carolina
Finished third.
400. Yep. So finished. Yeah, good finishes there. And also, I mean, thankful for the fact that he basically um, revived the North Wilkesboro Speedway, because if it wasn't for his interest in iRacing, I don't think any of this would have happened. Because he ran everybody from iRacing down there and scanned the track. They cleaned it up, kind of got it into a nice state, at least where it wasn't all you know overgrown and everything. So thankful he's able to do that. And
It's
thankful.
when one of your close friends is Marcus Smith.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was able to convince Marcus Smith to be able to do that. And then, I mean, honestly, I also have to thank or at least they have to thank the government of South or North Carolina for putting away money for the state to be able to invest in racing. So that's how they're kind of able to fund that
That was
bill.
part of that recovery
Yeah,
program, then the bill that the Dems passed, President Biden. So
yeah, it's
don't
all
tell
part of
that
it.
to certain people, but that's
Well,
what it
yeah,
was.
whatever. I mean, that's one part of the deal, but uh, yeah, I mean, thankful for all that, and then we got to see North Wilkesboro. Now we get to see North Wilkesboro on the schedule next year as the All Star race. We'll see how if it actually is good with Gen 7 car, next gen car. So yeah, I mean that's a lot of things to be thankful for. I mean, even Formula One, thankful that we had an interesting. I mean, it wasn't that interesting, but at least we got to see what the new car would look like. And I mean, I guess from a technical perspective, you can be thankful for that. So we'll see how it works out next year and everything. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to be thankful racing wise. And I mean, well, I'll even expand it to sports wise. The Jags and everything, even though they're not winning or having a winning record right now, at least thankful that it's not a total disaster like last year. At least this year, they've been competitive in every game. So thankful that we got to see that. And thankful that I got to watch the Jaguars in person win for my birthday a couple weeks ago. So, always thankful for that. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, just a lot of things that we could be thankful for this year. That happened, and of course, thankful as always, for family and friends and everything like that. So, and being able to do this. So, also thankful for that. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a interesting year, and we still got a couple more weeks left here in the year. So, getting ready to close out the year and everything. But hopefully we continue to push forward and close out the year solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you brought up a few of the points that I was thankful for sure. I mean, I think, honest to God, the moment and the moment of the year that made me the happiest was Chase Briscoe's victory at Phoenix. It basically made an episode because of the text chain between you, me, and Joe Passero. Because I was loaded and I didn't know what I could do with myself because I haven't seen my favorite. Like, the difference is, like, I became a Brad Keselowski fan secondarily because I usually had like a second drive. I started having a second driver because I kind of knew. It's how I became a Tony Stewart fan, to be fair, to be completely honest. Um, because Ernie was on the end of his career, Ernie Irvin. I started to look because I knew Tony wasn't going to be there forever. I'm like, I need somebody I like, and I know that has a chance. I took on Brad, but I never had that kind of, connection to him. But with Chase Briscoe, I had that connection to him, which made it mean so much more. Every win means so much more. I feel like he's a guy that I want to follow for many, many years. I don't know what's going to happen with that team. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but he is just a genuine dude. And so I was getting nervous. I was getting loaded. I didn't know what to do. I was celebrating for like 2 weeks after that. I didn't care what the hell. I was on cloud nine. It didn't matter. That's how great it felt. It was the same way as when I freaked out when Tony won his last race. It was that same feeling. Um, and that was awesome. Seeing a lot of the things that uh in NASCAR with this next gen car, there's definitely things that they have to fix. And it seems like SOD is aware of that and is open to that, especially with the stuff that Chad Knaus is doing with the Garage 56 project that will be out there next year, but was debuted and was talked about this year. So this car, essentially, for more the vast majority of what the Cup car is going to be racing at Le Mans next year. The way that Cup cars ran at Le Mans many decades ago. So it's an ode to the past, bringing it to the future. So it's interesting, and there's definitely going to be two interesting drivers driving that particular vehicle next year, um, along with Mike Rockenfeller. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Johnson being able to run ovals the way you ran at Iowa was definitely one of the coolest things this year. Um, the fact that he is continuing in his mid 40s to be so competitive and so good at his craft. Now he's an owner. Like you brought up, the ownership and stuff with Dale Jr. probably buying a whole entire series with Kelly. Um, Now Jimmy is going to be an owner in the sport. Essentially, Richard Petty is like, I'm not going to be around forever, so I'm giving my part to him. And that's literally what it is. He's passing the torch on to Jimmy, one seven time to another seven time, because Dale Jr. wasn't given that same opportunity with DEI, which is what was supposed to be, which the family was supposed to take that deal over, instead of it just being a freaking museum. Um, it's crazy how things go with that. And I mean, in terms of uh, other series, I mean, I'm a Pato Award guy, and he won races, and there's going to be changes at McLaren. Taylor Kyle has moved over to Ganassi to be with his father-in-law, Mike Hull. But the fact is, um, McLaren has set people in place. They got some good people there. He's one of the best drivers in the sport. IndyCar needs to go to Mexico uh, just because of him, period. They need to be going to Australia because of Will Power, and New Zealand because of Scott Dixon. That would be the way to start the season. Get away from you're like, oh, you're battling in football. Doesn't really matter. Run the race on a Saturday uh, afternoon. It'll be whatever, however the hell you have to do it. Arrange the time so that you could run in New Zealand and run in Australia back to back to start the season. Then run like in Brazil, and then you'd have 3 races. You'd have a break, like be in I would assume in like February. I feel like February would be the place around when the Super Bowl would be going on. Run on a Saturdays, like run 2 Saturdays in Australia and New Zealand, and then have a week, go to Brazil to and Mexico, and then go and have a couple weeks and go to St. Petersburg. Honestly, that would be a way to net all the hit the places that you have all these great drivers from and get those fan bases into IndyCar, because IndyCar is just dying. They have so many corny, things. They have so many stupid things going on, but they're not. They have an old car. They have old technology. They need to go and bring fans in, and we're two fans. We've been into this for a while. Like me, I've been into this for 30 plus years. So you're not going to find people like, the point is they're not trying to find people like me, and I get it. It's the same way NASCAR and BZF. If you try to listen to that interview yet on the DJD, that's one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. The guy is a freaking drug addict and a moron, and he's typical of that next generation, third generation person. They go and they're the trust fund baby that went and got the keys to the Ferrari and crashed it right into the pole. That's literally what BZF is, and he looks like somebody that's done that, and I'm pretty sure he has. Um, but yeah, Paddle Award. You have Alex Palou, Colton Herta, who, for all intents and purposes, isn't going to Formula One, which is a big win for IndyCar. They need to promote those guys. They need to be promoting some of these other younger guys that they're bringing into the sport. They need to make it so that younger drivers can get in without having to sacrifice organs. The IndyCar series is the most competitive series in America. The qualifying proves it. The racing proves it. They don't need artificial bullshit. Will Power he only just won his second championship. The guy has won more poles than any driver in the history of IndyCar racing. The guy's won 40. He's in the top 5 of wins. He's been at this since 2006. That tells you how hard it is. And he's driven for Penske for the vast majority of his career. So, I'm looking to see. I love IndyCar. I'm just glad we have IndyCar and how competitive it is, and I'm looking forward to next year. Um, there's other series and other things I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, there's some more yards for Josh, because now Debo's running and he just got a touchdown, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, he got another touchdown. Yeah, there it is. Is there a flag? Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. They're just olaying Debo Samuel. That's literally what they're doing. They're not even trying. It's
I think
almost
there's
like
a replay.
oh, that's a replay. Okay. Oh, that was a replay. That's true. I'm all right. That's like they're olaying him, like they don't even want to tackle him. It's like a business decision. So 5 wide, and he's not getting rid of the ball. He's waited forever. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, like I'm just glad, motorsports is here. All these different series. I mean, social media aside, especially with the way Formula One is social media wise, and also NASCAR with certain fan bases, it's so bad. Um, I love racing. I'm glad racing exists. It's the reason why the show exists. Because it's been a part of my life, and I'm glad to be able to talk about it because I love it and I have a lot of knowledge and history, with it. And I'm going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to do this. I don't care, people want to go on, say stuff, whatever. I don't give a fuck. We're going to have this show. And I'm glad, Josh, that we've become friends through whatever pages on Facebook for NASCAR. We're able to go and bounce off each other and bounce ideas off each other. We've been able to go and make this thing work. Somebody's dead. Debo is getting his hamstring worked on. Lovely. That's quite a visual. But then, um, I think, I mean, yeah, with Briscoe winning, I think in IMSA, I'm thankful for the fact that IMSA is growing and building. And now, essentially, I was very young when the GTP era ended. Uh, right at the end, I got in '93, and that was when Toyota, the All American Racers, and they were winning every race. Now, starting next year, you're going to have Porsche, you're going to have Acura, you're going to have Cadillac, you're going to have BMW, all in the GTP category. And there's further manufacturers coming in. You're going to have Lamborghini also coming in, racing. And then you have the hypercars that could come over and race here in the Rolex, which means there's a possibility that Toyota, there's a possibility that Alpine in a couple of years' time, there's a possibility that um, what is it, Peugeot could come over and Glickenhaus. So there's a convergence technology. There's also convergence on GT3 platform. So that means GT is in a convergence. So that means you could have racing where the cars you see here in America racing in the Rolex 24 and the 12 hours of Sebring, 10 out the 6 hours at the Glen, eventually the 8 hours at Indy, because that's going to happen, that they'll be racing at the 24 hours of Le Mans. They'll be racing in the WEC. That's huge. That's really awesome to see. And trying to think, NHRA, I mean, they've got, I mean, for the way funding is, things are going, there's a lot of changes coming along. It seems like there's a lot of good energy going on in the NHRA. I mean, Ron Capps is one of my favorite drivers ever. He's a legend, and he won 2 consecutive championships, 2 different manufacturers for 2 different teams. He worked for Don Schumacher last year in the Dodge, won last year, and now this year he drove for himself, and he drove in the Toyota. His boy, one of his BFFs, Antron Brown from Jersey, he went out on his own with a top fuel car and competed this year and had a solid season. Tony Stewart went out and drove a top alcohol dragster, almost won in his debut. His wife Leah ended up was running this year for him. Matt Hagan had a chance at the championship. He has connections to Mopar again. There's a lot of potential there in the NHRA side, for sure. I don't think Tony has the kind of money as Bruton Smith has, but I kind of have a feeling the way that Tony's going and the way Tony feels about things in NASCAR, that he might be in play NHRA wise. if things kind of go the way they go. Uh, I'm also thankful to Junior for keeping me in energetic about this sport, and the NBC crew, because their chemistry is built. They're building it up, and I mean, I think there's too many people. Honestly, I think they could condense it. I mean, I don't like Rick Allen, but the Junior, Latart, and even Burton, even though Burton's kind of like a throwaway to me, I think Junior and Latart and Dale Jarrett, and I think would be really, really good. Honestly, if they would go and get Alan Bestwick and they'd have Junior and Dale Jarrett, they would have the best announced team since Bob, Benny, and Ned. But they're not going to do that, which is a shame. But Junior is one of the only reasons why I still care about this sport in NASCAR, because it's become so kooky and there's so many corny things. It's more like wrestling. So I've become a fan of I would have never thought in his heyday that I would ever become a fan of Dale Jr., but I'm a fan of Dale Jr. because he's just like us. And he's just a cool dude. And he just happens to have pretty good talent behind the wheel. And he's a funny, and it's hilarious. His voice goes up and down like Tim Kirkjian, so it's kind of hilarious with the southern drawl on top of it.
Yeah.
And I like going and impersonating Dale Jr. So maybe if somebody would catch it, and I might be able to get on, we might be able to get on the DJD hopefully one day. But yeah, I mean, Formula One, in terms of the world racing, wasn't as compelling this year. Hoping for better things, but it's tough when you have that kind of money going on there. I think in 23 with the WEC, there will be a little bit more interest. I mean, Ben Keating is going to be driving a Corvette in the GT AM category, so that'll be interesting. He's driven. It's blocked out, but I'm pointing at the Dodge Viper over there. That was his Dodge Viper over there. So that's probably going to be his last year racing too. So it's a big deal for a great businessman who loves sports car racing. Trying to find people like that could go and support these kind of efforts. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thankful we have this. The way this world is, and the way so many people are, and there's so much negativity and hate. And I mean, we do go in, and I do definitely give my thoughts on certain people and certain things, and it's mainly because they are assholes, or they are douchebags, or they are not great people. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it in that sense. Racing is a family sport. Racing is something that brings people, they're supposed to bring people together, not put people apart, unless there's like divergent fan bases, which, that's the same with sports in general, but it's kind of how we've gotten things going here on the GSP. So yeah, let's go and wrap this deal up, Josh. Let us know what you're going to be doing here during this Thanksgiving weekend on the sim side of things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, actually, I want to just circle back real quick to things that we were thankful for here, and I'm actually
Yep.
thankful for getting a chance to hang out with Joe back in October and at Disney Springs. That was a good thing there that we're able to link up and watch Talladega together, and link up and talk about racing and all that. So thankful for that because it's always good to meet up with your friends and do things that you enjoy together. And obviously we all enjoy racing and being able to talk and everything like that. So yeah, thankful for that. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah, I'll start off the sim segment, of course.
Let me go. Yeah,
Yeah, no, you
now
go
you
ahead. You
give
go
me,
ahead.
because with Joe, and for having um Joey Barnes, having Ralph Shaheen, who's one of my heroes, having some of the people we've had this year. I mean, Joe is he's a passionate dude and he's a young dude and he's trying to follow his dream, and God bless him. We're going to support him on that, because he has so much talent, so much potential, and he cares. And he has that history, and he cares about the past, and he also cares about the present. And he's a Jersey guy. Um, he's a friend of mine, just like for Josh. And I mean, one day we're gonna hang out too. Uh, we all would hang out. I think that'll be the ultimate. We could go and do a live deal somewhere, but we'll work on that. But it's definitely, to have some of the guests we've had this year, still have some opportunities for some more guests. It could be, oh man, that is a big run. Oh, so they put Elijah Mitchell in now to go and bury him. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I want to
Yeah,
add on to that. I mean, you brought up some of our guests. I mean, hey, how about Phil Spain? I mean,
yeah, Phil.
obviously, thankful we got to see him on a couple, times during our duration of our podcast. This and last year, but I mean, we can be thankful for the things our friends experience as well. And he
He
won
won
10K
money.
from
Yeah,
Bubba Wallace winning the Cash App from the Cash App thing with Bubba Wallace in October Money Lion. So I mean, we can
and
be thankful
he's
for the things our friends or people we know they experience. So that's something to be thankful for too. But and
and
I mean, I
him and
was rooting for
Sarah are
Bubba so that would
basically,
happen. So yeah,
yeah, him and Sarah are basically the unofficial heads of the Daryl Wallace Jr. fan club too.
yeah,
To be
yeah,
fair,
yeah.
so, yeah. Let's get into the sim segment now.
Yeah, I know we kind of had a breakaway, but yeah, the Sim stuff. Yeah, I mean, last week I did Road America in the BMW GT4, and ran pretty well in that. Actually, ran top five. Just kind of started in the towards the middle back section of the field, and just kind of solidly, just kind of methodically worked my way through the field. Some people overdrive the corners. Turn five at Road America. The big braking zone, left-hander. Some people miss the corner there. Other people miss the corner at the kink. Other places like that, kettle bottoms. So turn one. So people take themselves out. So you pick up positions that way. So yeah, that was good running there. And then also ran it also in the actually last night on Sunday night on the Honda Civic. I was thinking it was going to be the BMW GT4, and then it was actually the Honda Civic. I wasn't looking at the label, but still, was able to run pretty well there. I think ran sixth, so that was a good stuff there. Running at Road America, some of the lower level divisions, but it's pretty fun to run on on iRacing on that level. Uh, Ran Nashville Super Speedway IndyCar Fixed Series. I actually finished a lap down, but I had started in 18th and finished in 10th, so I was able to pick up spots that way. I kind of struggled with the handling at the beginning of the race. It was pretty tight and hadn't really figured out the line. Clean air was kind of affecting me, but then after the second pit stop, or the first pit stop and the only pit stop that I had, kind of started to figure out the racing line around the track, and because I didn't really practice or anything. But yeah, that was definitely a uh, good recovery there. Still finished, pick up a top 10 and everything, so didn't quit or anything like that. But ran some pretty fast lap times towards the end of the race, comparative to the field. So that was good stuff there. Yeah, trying to see all the other results that I had in iRacing. The past couple of weeks. I think that was what I did last week, and then had some free time, of course, the previous week, and with the hurricane and everything happening in Florida, so had all that experience. I might run a little bit this week. I don't know yet, because I'll be I'll be visiting family for Thanksgiving, visiting my parents and everything. So I might not have my PC, but I don't know. I might take my PlayStation with me, and then I can run Formula One or something like that, F122, at home like that. So I might do that. So I have something. Probably won't take my PC home with me, but yeah, I might. I'm trying to see here in the lineup for this week. Formula One or for iRacing. Well, IndyCar is running. The fixed series running at Indianapolis, so that might be something to do if I have time. Don't know yet. We'll see. Other series, NASCAR. What are they running this week? The 87's running at Martinsville. That might be interesting. IndyCar, or not IndyCar, but NASCAR Xfinity running at iRacing Super Speedway. That could be wild. Trucks running at Fontana. Cup running at Chicagoland. Might be interesting as well.
What about
Yeah.
getting into the what do you call Thursday night blunder?
Yeah, I gotta get into that too, or something like that. Yeah, I heard the Moon Car. I guess Moonhead, the guy on iRacing or Twitter, he's big iRacing guy. Dale Jr. was on his series and flew through the air to win, I think, at Talladega. But I think he
Yeah,
had
he
a
did.
24-hour race or something at Martinsville in the Miatas, which I did not. I was not in that, but I guess that's an interesting event where you run only basically everybody's in the same car and it's a 24-hour race. So I mean, you're with a team. Obviously, no one's going to do it solo, but that's always interesting to watch. Open Wheels 500 was this past weekend as well. I think the 2020 winner, Hugh Olson, won that one. I wasn't able to catch much of it, but I did see the stuff on Discord and I was looking through some of the photos and stuff. So it looked like it was a pretty good race. So yeah, I guess the milk bottle, I guess, that they make for that, I don't know who's responsible for it anymore, but I guess stays in the same same person for at least another year. So pretty interesting there. Other stuff on iRacing, Indy Pro 2000 at Daytona Road Course might be interesting. GT, trying to look here, the GT4 racing series that I was talking about earlier. Racing, can't pronounce the name of this track. Rudskogen Motor Center. I think that's in like Germany or Norway. It's the Norway track that iRacing released recently, so that might be
I've
interesting.
never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting series, race track as well. IndyCar, or no, not IndyCar, but the Production Lab Sim Lab challenge, racing at Watkins Glen. That series, half-hour time series, where you're racing in the MX-5, the Ford Mustang, Pontiac Solstice, or the Volkswagen Jetta. That's racing at Watkins Glen. Other series, you got Global MX5 Cup at Okayama Circuit. Always a good road course race there. Advanced MX5 Cup, I think also racing there at the same place. Yeah, the Grand Prix Tour also racing again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. So yeah, that might be interesting to do. So there's always a lot of there's always a lot of stuff to pick on iRacing. You pick and choose from, pick your niche, or if you want to jump around and race in different classes and be good all around, or just get the experience of racing in different cars. There's always the choice to be able to run there. So yeah, I mean, of course, as well, thankful for iRacing and the ability to go and sim race and everything like that, as always. And they are running a Black Friday deal for their 1 and 2 year subscriptions. So it's always a good deal that they have every year. I think it's like 50% off or something like that for 1 year and 2 year subscription. So I might actually go and do that, so I don't have to worry about paying for it every 3 months and everything, and I can just pay it all in advance and have it for 1 or 2 years. So might do that. So, but yeah, that's always a good deal, especially if you're someone new. You can just pay for that experience, and then of course have the controls wheel or whatever you have, and your PC and monitors and all that stuff. So there's a lot of involvement in getting a rig up and running. But if you're able to do it, it's definitely a rewarding experience if you're able to do it. So yeah, I mean that's all I got this week for sim racing segment. Yeah, it's of course been an interesting year and everything, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter at JP Huffine as we close here. And follow the Twitch streams at usailor2. Go on there and watch all my stuff when I stream. I think the last stream I had was Talladega when I won on the 87 car last week. So yeah, I don't always stream, but when I do, I try to make it in, or at least make it good, I guess. And yeah, I was able to do that. So go in there and see that. You can find our YouTube stream of this show on YouTube slash Grip Strip Podcast. Go in there, subscribe to our page, like our content, and watch our videos or listen to them with the video in the background, or however you want to do it. So yeah, go on there and subscribe and interact and comment and help grow the channel, grow our content. So yeah, that's all I got for tonight. Let you bring out the rest of the close.
You can follow us at GripStripPod on Twitter. You can follow me at Philip G. Matthew on Twitter. And you can see the show also posted on philipgmatthew.com. Basically, you can find the GripStrip Podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks to you, Josh, as always. I mean, we're bros, and glad that we're able to do the show together and, BS and talk about football, talk about racing, talk about whatever, and just be able to hang out once a week and kind of bench race in a way, and then in a more freeform manner, away from a lot of the argy-bargy that seems to go on in our society, as Calvin Fish would say. I need a pin. I don't understand why I can't. I thought I was an admin on this page. I should be able to pin posts on our
I'll give you that
GSP
power.
page.
I'll give you that power. I might not have that set
So
up. That's my bad
uh,
there.
it's all good. I thought I had it, but yeah. So we're on episode 145 this week, and yeah, we will be back next week for episode 146. It'll be more football centric. To open the episode, we'll try to figure out the race that Josh Berry is in and try to follow what happens there. Extreme World Touring Cars and Supercars finale in Adelaide. The last race ever for Holden in the Supercars Championship, because Holden doesn't exist anymore. So we'll get into all that. We'll talk about how our Thanksgivings went, how much we ate, and whatever else that comes up here during this holiday weekend. So for that, if you're listening in the United States, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, to Josh and to his family. Of course, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And thank you for listening to the Grip Strip Podcast. We'll be back. We're going to continue doing this at least for the next few weeks, probably until around Christmas time, going over, probably doing some season recaps. After this week, I think after next week, we're going to probably do some season recaps shows to start leading into next race season. We'll take a series of a week from there. So with that, I'm Phil. For Josh, I'm Phil. Thank you for listening to Gripster Podcast. Take care. God bless, and goodbye.